What's up, everybody, and welcome to Enjoying the Review. On tonight's show, we'll be reviewing Agatha All Along, Episode 4. I'm your host, incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the phenomenal Ajay Singh. AJ, how's it going today?
Yeah, it's good.
All right. So in a minute, we'll be doing a deep dive in Episode 4, a spoiler review. But AJ, any non-spoilery things you want to talk about before we do?
Um, I don't know why I didn't pick up on this before, but there's definitely Wizard of Oz vibes in this show, right? Like that's like there's witches, there's a road, like
That's true. Yeah, Yellow Brick Road kind of thing going on.
and they keep talking about a green witch at some point. So like, the Wicked Witch of the East was green. She was the bad guy. Um that could be like a red herring though there because like I don't know what the deal is with the green situation there. Um, all in all, I like the episode. I like where it's going. I like the vibes. They definitely put this in a way where like the finale or like it lines up with Halloween. Um,
Yeah, that
and
was smart of them to do.
yeah, and yes, it's good. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I still liked it. But like I said on the last review that I could see now like the formula of that was going to happen, and like this one totally showed that like it was very similar to the last episode in structure.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if like the next two episodes will be like the same thing. Um, which I guess is okay, but it does make the episodes somewhat more predictable. Like there's still things in them that they throw at you, but structurally speaking, it was very similar to the last episode.
It feels like, well, I mean, the whole show is delving into the background mostly. Like, well, a lot of it is delving into the history and, kind of getting into the lore and finding out about like how witches work and their own histories and all this stuff. So I think this is a lot of world building we're seeing in this series. Um, I don't know how much of a like forward moving plot we've seen so far because it's been kind of limited in that sense. Um, but there's a lot of filling out going on.
Yeah, but yeah, overall, I'm still liking it. I think right now I'd probably be at like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10 score wise as far as the season is going. I don't know how
Yeah,
you feel about it.
I'd be right there, like 7.5. I think I'm a little high. Maybe I give it an 8, and I think
Okay.
part of that extra point is that I really dig Halloween a lot, and the vibes just really do it for me.
That's true. I've never been like a big horror like fan, or not that this is horror in any way, but
Mm-hmm.
like I don't generally watch a lot of like Halloween themed movies, but like I definitely if you like that vibe, like I can definitely see this show given bonus points.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's perfect timing right around Halloween. I think they really timed that well for this
Yeah.
show because I believe I don't know for sure, but I remember when this show was first announced, it was before the actor strike happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was originally supposed to come out in uh December or something. And
Mm.
now that it's coming out now, I'm kind of thinking that would have been a horrible idea. Like you
Yeah.
should have held it for this period of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fall. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. AJ, without further ado, let's get into spoilers and break down the plot.
Let's do it.
So episode 4 is entitled "If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You."
Mm.
How are you liking these rhyming titles? I'm okay with it.
I don't mind that. I do feel like they're really pushing this song, and I get that it's like this theme of the show, but did it have to be the theme of it? Like I feel like that whole Agatha All Along situation, like because that became a popular song, they're like, oh well, we got to go music again. I don't know, like yeah,
I know a part of me, because they had that song early on, I was like, oh, maybe this will be kind of a musical series and there'll be like a lot of different songs. But no, they're getting their mileage out of that one song. Like we already got a cover version of it in this episode.
Well, I actually appreciate that more than it being a musical series. I would hate it being a musical series. Like, I actually, yeah, it's better that this plot is around like this song being important and like
That's
that's
true.
why they're singing it. Oh yeah, I couldn't do a La La Land Agatha.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to be a straight up musical, I guess. But I thought maybe they would feature like multiple different songs. But yeah, you're right. Like I wouldn't want a straight up musical. That would be weird. All right, so we start out, as you remember, at the end of the last episode, Sharon had died. So now the teen boy is digging a grave for Sharon. Alice says her mom died while on tour in a hotel fire. Alice came on this trip because her mom told her that the road would save her. And this is going to be an Alice like centric episode. This really is her episode. Agatha doesn't seem that sad about Sharon's death and wants to get back on the road, which is kind of messed up because she's kind of the one that really got Sharon to go on the trip anyway. Yeah, basically forced her to go on the trip.
Sharon had
and
like
now
no
she died.
agency. Yeah, Sharon was like, she fell into that hole anyway, right? Like, didn't she? Something like that. So,
well, and they even debate here in a minute, like who really is responsible for her death. They're all kind of blaming, like, oh, we didn't. She drank too much and we didn't give her enough antidote. Oh, it's your fault, or I don't remember everything, but yeah, they try to pin it on each other.
but when she, even like when she went into like this whole mission, like she was trying to run away, right? Like they forced her into this mission in the first place, right? Something like that. She was trying to get out, right?
Well, yeah, because because Agatha roped her into going, and then once on the road, like last episode, remember she walked away for a bit, but then like the ground tried to swallow her up, and they just barely saved her, and so yeah. But again, just like you said last episode, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we find out that, like she's not really who she seems to be, and she comes back in some way. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if that happens.
Yeah.
So Jen tells Agatha that she's being callous, and that now they don't have a full coven of witches. So Agatha says it's just like the song says, "Burn and brew with coven two, and glory shall be thine." And Jess says, no, the ballad actually says, "With coven true, glory shall be thine." So they're arguing over like the lyrics of the song. Alice asks Agatha how many witches left the road with her last time, and Agatha puts up one finger. So I was a little confused by that because, like, is that saying that, like, Agatha, it wasn't just Agatha that survived the road, like one other person, like maybe Rio, I don't know, survived with her?
Well, I thought it was just one. Like, it must have been just Agatha, right?
Yeah, was it? Well, the way Alice phrased the question is how many witches left the road with her last time, and Agatha put up one finger. So I don't know if Agatha just meant no, it was only me, or if it was just like one other person. I was a little confused with the way they phrased it there.
Yeah.
So Jen says that if they're going to pull this off, they still need a green witch. And then, like I referenced earlier, they all kind of start fighting. Everybody starts blaming each other for whose fault it was that Sharon died. Eventually, Alice says that they should not go forward without replacing the Green Witch, and Agatha says they should summon a Green Witch to help them. And the others say that if they do this, it's dangerous. A lot could go wrong if they mess up in any way, or like if they're not specific enough when they cast a spell and all this kind of stuff. But Agatha convinces them, and so they go through this whole ritual with like chanting in Latin and putting like things into this spell or whatever. But they end up summoning Aubrey Plaza's character Rio. And so like isn't this who they were supposed to get in the first place, but she took Sharon instead?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
So really she should have just left Sharon out of the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it almost feels like it was like symbolic of that. They turned the very person that wasn't supposed to be there into the person that was supposed to be there. You know, like
Right.
you
Um so the other witches kind of talk to themselves, like wondering if they can trust Rio. I think it's pretty obvious that they can't. But
yeah, they really
eventually, oh, go
they
ahead.
really like deride Rio, like for like they're like, oh wow, she's so cool and sexy and scary, and I was like, get
Yeah, they're
off.
like, I think both, like two of those women are like, oh, I don't know, to be scared of her or to get her number or both or
Yeah, it's
whatever.
like, all right, we get it. And Aubrey Plaza, like, it doesn't even feel like it's a show anymore. It just feels like I'm watching Aubrey Plaza be a little exaggerated version of herself. Like she was this in Legion. She's always like this quirky kind of odd, weird person or whatever she is. Like I get it, that's her character or whatever, but I wouldn't mind seeing somebody else be that too. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure there's other people. I don't mind it. I get that she does kind of play a like similar characters, but I don't know. I guess I'm not bored of it yet. Like I still enjoyed her performance here.
Mhm.
So they walk down the road and eventually they see another house. And Alice gets freaked out and tries to walk away, but the road is magical and just ends up taking them right back to the house. Now I'm wondering, like, they don't explicitly say, like, was Alice freaked out because this house in some way resembled like the hotel that burned and killed her mom? Like I was like, why was she just on site like freaked out by it?
I don't know. It, yeah, I mean, it didn't look like a hotel to me.
Yeah, me either. Unless maybe she's just like, well, the last house we went to like almost killed us all, so I don't want to go to this one. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
no.
It
I
seems
think
like
more than that. It
it
seemed
seems like
personal.
she should have known like that the road was going to entail a lot of danger. You know.
Yeah.
So this house has the waxing moon, which is apparently the fire phase. So we know by following the structure of the last episode that fire is going to be the danger in this house. So when they get in, they all become dressed like hippie rock stars, I guess you could say. And like both Agatha and Rio have like, like low cut uh, clothing, like
Mhm.
a lot of cleavage.
Yeah, Agatha was really showing it off in this episode. I was like, all right, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't mind, but it is peculiar with a show that's like I would think is supposed to be somewhat kid friendly. You know what I mean?
True, yeah, true.
Agatha and Rio are very contentious towards one another. Um, okay, this was I wasn't sure what we were supposed to get out of this. So Lilia and Jen both see things that make them feel unsettled. So Lilia sees like um it's like a picture of like a little girl or something and it makes her like cry. Do you remember that scene? Like what
Yeah.
was that exactly?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I couldn't make
Like
sense of that either.
like I don't know if it's supposed to be something that reminded her of like a tragedy in her past or something.
I'm
And
sure we'll
then
delve into it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure once we get to her episode it'll make more sense. And then also Jen sees like a mask and she doesn't like this weird mask on the wall and she doesn't
Mhm.
cry but we can tell like we that she's like unsettled by it.
Right.
And I don't know if there's supposed to be more to that story.
Yeah. Sure.
So Alice sees a picture of her mom, and Lilia comes up besides her and says that her mom was trying to open the road with her concerts. and Alice says that her mom's fans were her coven. Okay, so in the last episode, remember we had that weird scene where like Lilia was like in her own head and she said something weird when she was with Agatha. Now we're getting that again where she's in this trance and she's like she asked if she's wispy or kooky or something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and Alice is like, I don't know, a little bit of both. And then
Hmm.
while she's still in that trance, she says, Alice, don't, like, as like a warning. And Alice is like, don't what? And then
Hmm.
she's like, don't what, my dear, or whatever. Like, she
Yeah,
came out
yeah,
of it and didn't even remember saying it.
yeah.
So I'm assuming that when we get to Lilia's episode or somewhere in a future episode, we're going to get like the backstory as to what's causing
Oh
her to
yeah,
say these things.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
It
She's
almost
the
makes me wonder if there's like a timey-wimey element with her. You know what I mean? Like she's seeing of the future or something.
yeah. I feel like she's having like premonitions or something, like something, either like she's getting messages from something or somewhere or some, I don't know, or she's like displaced in time when she's doing that. Um,
I could see that. Yeah, you probably I could see that being a premonition thing where like we get to her episode, and then in context
yeah,
she says these phrases, and we're like, oh, so that's why she said that.
yeah, right, yeah.
We have that Peter Griffin moment.
I'm more interested in seeing her story than any, but I don't know if we're gonna see the Green Witch's story. I'm sure we're gonna see Agatha and her. So those are, yeah, I'm looking forward to those two, to be honest. But I am looking forward to her, this lady's story, because she's very weird, like I
Right.
want to see what made her that way.
Yeah, I kind of assume we'll get all of their stories.
Yeah. And at the very end, after we get Agatha's story, then we're gonna get that kid story, teen story.
Oh yeah, we got to get his story too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking of him, Rio asks Agatha why she brought along the boy, and
Mhm.
we can kind of see like Rio. I don't know if she knows something that we don't, or she's just like very curious about the boy, but she definitely is like wondering about him. It seems like.
Yeah.
So Agatha tries to call a truce with Rio, and it's hinted that they may have had a romantic relationship in the past. Towards the end of this episode, that'll be confirmed. Um, Rio tries to get Agatha to admit she's betraying the group over this loudspeaker that she turns on, but Agatha doesn't fall for that. She realizes that it's on. But oddly enough, I forget what she says, but Rio kind of says something that makes the group think she's betraying them because she says something about like, their dead bodies or something like that.
One by one, they'll die or something,
Right, right.
and she'll get the bodies, and Agatha will get her power, something like that. I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So the teen boy plays a record that says "Play Me" on it, and it starts playing backwards, and everyone's yelling about it, so he destroys it. But Lilia says that record playing backwards has put a curse on them. And right after that, a metronome starts going back and forth, signaling that the trial has begun. Alice says she feels lighter, and then Lilia starts to like burn, like smoke starts coming off of her, and she's in pain. So Alice takes Rio's knife and she carves a circle around Lilia while chanting in Latin, which stops her from burning. Um, Lilia says the only way to end the curse is to face it. So then Jen also starts to smoke and burn in the same way, and Alice also protects her in the same way by carving the circle around her. So then it's revealed, or then we see that Jen has these burn marks on her shoulders, and Lilia opens up her coat or whatever it is, show that she has the same burn mark on her shoulder. And Alice reveals that she has the same burn mark. And I think she said she thought it was like a birthmark because her mother had the same thing. But that's
Yeah.
a pretty crazy birthmark, isn't it?
Also, birthmarks don't work like that, do they? Like you don't get the same birthmark as somebody else. How
I
likely
don't
is that?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Like you don't get the same eyes as your parents. You're gonna get the same birthmark? Like that seems so unlikely.
Especially one like that looks like a hideous scar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was just weird weird dialogue, yeah.
Yeah.
So then the teen boy gets flung across the room through some glass by the curse. Agatha figures out that to break the curse, they have to play Lorna's ballad, but Alice doesn't want to. Um, they put it together that Lorna's ballad was a protection spell, and the only reason Alice has survived is because somewhere in the world, somebody is always playing that song. I actually really liked that um, part of the lore. Like she has this curse that's like burning her, but her mother like created the song to protect her, and like the only reason that curse hasn't like totally destroyed Alice is because like someone's constantly playing that song somewhere in the world. Like that's a pretty cool thing.
I definitely think that's really cool. I also wonder how realistic is that? Is that like just a really fake idea, like that couldn't even possibly happen? Or is there even any chance of that being a possibility? Like does like a super hit song get played 24/7 at some like throughout the day, like throughout the world?
I kind of, I mean, there's so many people in the world. I kind of think that's true. That any hit song is being played somewhere in the world all the time. I
So
kind of think that's true.
okay, but her mom died how many years ago? Because she looked young in the flashbacks.
Um,
I gotta say like 20, 20,
I'm not
30.
sure if they say. I'm not sure if they say.
But she looks young in the flashbacks. And if it, let's say even 10 years, like, I don't know. I don't
That's
know
one
if
of
you
those
were still playing that
cosmic.
song.
I gotta
Yeah.
say, that's one of those cosmic things that I wish I could know the answer to,
I know
because
that is
it's
interesting.
it is because I like I said I kind of feel in my heart that it's true. Like, and take any song that's ever been a hit, it's
Mhm,
probably playing somewhere
mhm.
right now.
It is.
I can't say for sure if that's true, but I just kind of feel it in my heart that it is.
It is interesting. Gosh. Oh, wow. I would love to know about that. That's
I
so
know
fascinating.
it's one of
Okay.
those things you can't know, but I wish I
Yeah.
could know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess there could be a thing though where like maybe the you could say like maybe the curse like wouldn't completely destroy her like the minute that song's not playing some like maybe it would still take a little bit of time.
Like build
Eh,
up or get like.
right, so but I just like that part of the lore they came up with.
Mhm. That's cool.
um so as they start to play the song, Agatha starts to burn like the others did, but she just kind of like no, I'll keep going, let's keep
Mhm.
playing. So as they continue, the house begins to burn. Eventually, the curse appears in physical form as like this winged, like vampire looking beast. I don't know what you would call it.
Mhm. Little
Um,
beautiful looking creature.
yeah. So this causes Alice to play extra hard on the piano and it burns the curse. But before it does, like the curse lands with like its um talons like on her shoulders. So like that presumably is like the burn mark is like that thing's like talons like sitting on her shoulders.
Yeah, and I think when she said she felt lighter, I think that was it getting off of her shoulders and like attacking everybody in the group at that point.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to examine that line. I was like, what does that mean? So yeah, that makes sense. Like the curse, like uh, flew off of her to like go after the others, so she felt lighter. Yeah, that makes sense. But anyway, the curse burns up. So like as they were playing, like the house started to catch on fire. The flames were getting worse. But then once the curse is burned up, the flames go away, and the metronome and the fire stop. Although, if it to be consistent with the last episode, it seemed like the water didn't just stop the minute they uh, took the antidotes or whatever. So
Right.
I almost feel like the fire should have kept going until and they should have just barely escaped.
Right. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. Hmm.
But anyway, the piano opens up to show the exit out of this house.
Oh well. Did we talk about Teen was brutally assaulted by this demon? I don't know.
Um. Oh yeah. So yeah, the boy passes out and is bleeding from his abdomen. Now I wasn't sure, like, because as he was playing, it did like kind of show like his abdomen or what. But like, did he get cut when he got like tossed through the glass, or did something happen while he was playing?
I imagine when he was like top, like when he was flying backwards, it must have been when that impact happened initially when he was hit. Like that must be where he got cut up.
I just thought it was weird because like in that moment he didn't seem hurt very bad. Like when he
Yeah.
was through the like he got back up and he's like, yeah, I can play guitar and whatever. But then all of a sudden he was hurt real bad, and I'm like, when did that happen?
Yeah. Exactly.
So that was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, he passes out and he's bleeding from his abdomen. So Agatha seems genuinely concerned that the boy is in danger. With most of the other, like with Sharon, she was very flippant, didn't care. But she does seem to have legit feelings for the boy. Now, is that because she thinks the boy might be her son? Like, maybe.
Yeah. I think so.
So Jen uses a spell made out of water and moonlight to heal him, or heal his wound. So then we get a scene. I don't remember all the dialogue here, but maybe basically the witches start bonding over the campfire. They're telling stories, and we can see they're getting along and bonding. And while they're doing that, Agatha is keeping watch over the kid. So the boy wakes up and asks Agatha if she put the sigil on him, but she says no. But then she says, well, actually, she wouldn't know because the way the sigil works on the person who cast it as well, and that's why witches don't use them very often. So basically, if somebody puts a sigil on somebody, it's like erased from their mind that they did it, so they wouldn't even know. Which I guess is interesting.
It just seems like convenient, like for the plot, because otherwise, like I know they're doing it's fun. I like where they're going with it, but it definitely is a new rule that I don't know. Yeah.
My thing though is, so if we're suspecting that this is Wiccan, that this is Wanda's boy,
Mhm.
I'm just like, who would benefit from him not being able to say who he is?
I think potentially, and I don't know why I'm saying this. 'Cause I don't have anything to back this up. But there could be a Wanda out there, or somebody who sent him to do this to make up with this Wanda. Maybe she found him, or I don't think she knows him. But I don't know. Maybe he was sent by somebody to make sure Agatha gets her powers back, and I don't know who that would have been, but somebody who has influence over him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing by the end of the episode they'll reveal that, but it made me think, like, start thinking like, who would benefit from him not being able to talk? But he asked if the sigil can be lifted, and she says sigils have to be destroyed. They are not lifted, which I don't really know what the distinction is.
Wait, what? So I don't understand.
Well, he asked if the sigil can be lifted, and she says no, it can't be lifted. Sigils can only be destroyed. But I'm like, aren't these basically saying the same thing? Like, get rid of the sigil. Like, I don't know what this distinction is between it getting lifted and being destroyed.
Well, no, I think lifted means like you can lift the spell, like just be like, all right, I'm done. But I mean, I guess destroy is like you actually have to actively like do something to like destroy the spell. Lifting is like undoing, whereas destroying is like doing something else, I guess.
Okay.
Um, I thought if the mission that he was supposed to accomplish for the sigil, I thought once he completes that, the sigil would go away, but that's not the case then.
Well, Agatha says that, and this is really vague. Agatha says that sigils are destroyed when they are no longer needed, which,
Once
I,
his mission's accomplished, there's no, yeah.
yeah, I guess so. That writing there does seem pretty vague to allow them to do whatever they want. Yeah, I don't exactly know what they're trying to set up with that line.
Well, they're definitely going to reveal it at the end of I think that's what they're leaving that loophole open for.
He asks Agatha what really happened to her son, but she refuses to answer. Um, um, Lilia's mind wanders off again while she's talking to the others. I don't remember exactly what she said here, but I remember one of the others like commented on it. So once again, we get this where she's not quite in her head all the time.
Mhm.
Um, so Agatha joins them at the fire, and the witches have Agatha show one of her battle scars. And then Rio says she used to love somebody, but had to hurt her because it was her job, and that person is her scar. And she's very blatantly like talking about Agatha.
Mhm.
Um, so like we could pretty much assume here that they were at one point like in love with each other. Um,
For sure, yeah.
so I mean I assume we'll get the answer to this as well. Do you think like Rio was maybe acting, for Mephisto or some entity, and that's why she had to like betray Agatha?
For sure. Yeah, somebody. I don't know it's necessarily Mephisto. There's a lot to do here actually. Like there's a different so okay, look, I know Mephisto's going to make an appearance in Iron Wars. I don't know if they're going to initially like bring him in here and like start having this like overall plot narrative like maybe he's the reason Doom gets to power or something. I don't know. Maybe they're doing something with that. Um, you could also go the way of Chthon being the one who created the Darkhold as a way of tethering himself to this universe and eventually coming back to this world or whatever it is. So it could be a play by Chthon. And there's a lot to do there too. I think that's a great storyline. He's a very powerful entity in the comics. He's like an elder god or an old god. I'm not sure what they call. I think they're elder gods. And the storyline with those guys is that I think there were like 8 of them. I'm not sure, and they all fought each other. They went mad because Chthon. Lately, they changed the story. Apparently, Chthon is the one who like initiated the events to like make everybody fight each other and stuff. And it got really bad. A lot of them died, but then one of them got really powerful, and he became the demiurge. And the demiurge ends up winning the conflict. Everybody else runs away. Chthon runs away. That's why he leaves the Darkhold. He's like, well, here's a relic of mine for me to be tethered to this world so I can eventually come back when I can. Um, uh, Later on, the demiurge is tied to uh, Wanda's kid, Billy Kaplan. He's able to, I guess, tap into the demiurge's power in the comics. So maybe there's a possibility they're thinking about something with Chthon. They haven't, there's no sign of that, in my opinion, whatsoever so far, except for the Darkhold being a part of this universe. Um,
Yeah,
And
it's hard to tell. I've never read a lot of like the magic based Marvel comics.
Mhm.
Um, but like you're saying, like it does sound like there's a lot of those entities they could go with instead of
Mhm.
Mephisto.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of feel, well, I don't know. Since they mentioned Mephisto in the last episode,
Mhm.
like I assume they will eventually do something with Mephisto.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's for sure going to be in this series or not. But like you said, the rumor is that they are going to do something with Mephisto in Armor Wars, which sounds like the weirdest place to use him.
Yeah,
Um,
everybody's saying that. I agree, by the way. Like, why that uh movie? Why that project? I don't understand.
yeah, I mean, he is a magical entity, so he would make seemingly much more sense in this series. So yeah,
For
it's
sure.
it's it definitely is odd. Um,
I have to imagine that we see Mephisto in the end of the series somehow with Kaplan involved. Is somehow he's moving gears here, and then we see him moving more gears in Armor Wars. And I imagine he's not like a character who's overly expository or like too much involved. Um, I think he just kind of hops in here and just does a little thing and like moves things around and then leaves, right? Like that's what he does in the comics.
yeah, I don't see them setting Mephisto up as like a Thanos level villain or anything where they really use him for a long period of time and build him up as this big bad. I feel like they'll just kind of maybe introduce him here, use him in Armor Wars, and that's it. But I don't know. It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
It is really hard to predict. Um, let's see. Okay, so at the very end of the episode, Agatha and Rio go off by themselves. They almost kiss, but before they do, Rio tells her that the boy is not her son. Which, to me, like it seems like Rio wants to kiss her, so she's kind of dumb. She should have just kissed her and then told her. Like, why interrupt the kiss?
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, you honestly end up making her more upset when you do that too. Because, like, she's thinking that, oh, we're about to have a positive encounter. And then a very negative outcome. I imagine the whiplash there did shock her and make her more upset.
But then I guess the question leading into the next episode, if they answer it, is like, how does Rio know that information? Like, how does she know for sure?
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like when you talked about her working for somebody, that does kind of make it seem like that might have been the case. Like maybe she has inside information because of that somebody, and she knows who this kid is.
Yeah. So last episode was the Jen centric episode. This episode was the Alice centric episode. Do you suspect next episode will be the Lilia centric episode?
For sure, because like the main characters here are the Green Witch and Agatha, and then Teen. Teen is like the interesting, guy who we don't know much about. We want to reveal him. So those three characters can be saved for last, and I think it's going to be the green one probably first, then Agatha, and then Teen in that order. I imagine.
Okay. Um. Yeah. So that was the end of this episode, episode 4. AJ, any final thoughts before we call it a show?
Uh, I like it. I like it. I still think. I think you and I are. I think you're coming over to my side where Mephisto is becoming more and more realistic as a character that might come up later on too. Might make an appearance.
Yeah. Well, if I didn't know that they are seemingly planning to use him in the Armor Wars series, like I would be a little more skeptical. and like I'm still not completely sold that that character will make an appearance, but like it seems more possible now, I guess.
I uh I forgot I did watch Wolverine and Deadpool last night.
Oh, okay.
Deadpool.
You like it?
Um, I liked it the most. I think I was kind of high when I watched it. I don't know. I'm high right now too. But like I don't know if it was better than the first one. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Like, look, if you try to critically break down this movie, it's awful. Like, you know, storyline wise, all that stuff. Like, it's if you really, you're not looking for the best storyline. Yeah, watch this movie. It's fun. It's just turn off your brain, just have a good time, laugh, chuckle. But I mean, it's definitely helter skelter. You're not supposed to take it too seriously. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I think for me, I didn't like it as quite as much as the other Deadpool movies. I thought it was a little too inside baseball as far as like the jokes concerning Fox and Disney
Yeah.
and stuff like that, to where I'm like, boy, like there's a lot of people not getting these jokes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Um, what was it? The TVA was pretty hollow too. Like, it didn't like feel. I don't know. It didn't feel like the TVA. It felt very nerfed. I guess nerfed. Yeah. I don't know
I was
because the
kind of
TVA.
surprised that they used the TVA as much as they did.
True. True. Yeah, they're like a vital part of this whole thing. They were
It was
integral.
very yeah, very linked to like the Loki show.
Yeah, like they were. Yeah, the whole plot was around them. Uh, I they didn't seem very advanced like they did in the show, because in the show they could easily wipe out a whole universe with their things. Like then they had like you just put down a thing and like leave, and the whole universe is wiped out.
Yeah, they did have like bombs like that. Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't understand. I don't understand.
yeah. Like now it's been several months since I've seen it, but I do remember like kind of having questions like that. That I'm like, well, if you think about this too much, I'm not sure it totally makes sense. But I
Yeah,
guess you're
you
just supposed
can't
to.
think about. You can't.
Yeah,
You can't. Like it's just there's too many plot holes. There's too many stupid decisions. It's like there's a point like where the bad guy does the James Bond thing and like reveals his whole literally it's like that scene from Guardians of the Galaxy where Peter Quill's father, everything's going great according to plan. Like you don't have to worry about you don't have to say if you don't say the wrong thing, you're good to go. But they open their mouths and they're like, and we're gonna, I killed your mom, or we're gonna destroy your universe. Yay. Like, really? Like, are they really that dumb that they're gonna say that? I know. Turn off your brain. Reed
right,
Richards in the movie, the Multiverse of Madness.
right.
Just yeah.
How did you feel about the cameos in the movie?
I liked him. Poor Johnny Storm, dude. Like, did he ever get to? I don't remember him coming back from that. He was dead, right? He was like,
Oh yeah, remember she kills him in like a horrible way.
he never comes back. He's gone forever.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, might as well. Like,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
who
no,
really feels fondly about those movies anyway? You know what I
no, for
mean?
sure, for sure. That's the Fox universe is gone now anyway. It's just funny. I was just like, they did not redeem that dude at all. Like,
I like that bit where like it's first revealed that it's him and he flies up and then Pyro takes away his powers and he like falls and he like cracks his nuts on that sign.
and the way he falls.
Yeah, which he basically just broke his neck right there. Like
Yeah, I thought he was already dead, to be honest.
he should have been.
And they didn't show him for a while until they're like moving in the car or something. I don't know. And he's like talking about how they're going up against her or whatever. Cassandra Nova, I don't know much about her, but damn, she's uh, she's the most powerful thing ever. Apparently, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean she's basically, Charles Xavier esque. So
Yeah, but I didn't think Xavier could control Mephisto. There was a Mephisto out there, wasn't there?
Um,
Oh, I'm cussing. I shouldn't.
I don't know because like in like the group shot where they're just fighting all sorts of people, there's like so many, and I'm like I don't know
There
just
was
by
a guy who
glance.
looked like the devil. Okay, I'll say that, and he kept poofing in and out of existence. And I was like, that's got to be a reference. I don't know. I imagine
Oh,
so.
could it have been like um Azazel, like the evil like Nightcrawler guy that does that?
Maybe I don't know. Possible. Uh, she was a good villain. Um, I
Yeah, I liked her.
there's always that suspension of disbelief though, where you just saw her just wreck Johnny Storm. She could easily kill Wolverine and Deadpool in
Oh
a
yeah.
heartbeat, but she never does. She keeps leaving them to Eliath every time. But Johnny Storm, no, don't leave him to Eliath. But yeah, like everybody else, nobody escapes the compound. But these guys have done it like twice now because she just chooses to not finish them off herself.
And also like when they first escape her compound, there's just conveniently like that rocket like thing there that they get on, and it like
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
so yeah, some very convenient like stuff in that movie.
it's wild. Yeah, I mean, I still thought it was a fun movie. I liked Wolverine's character arc. I like that dude.
Yeah.
That was a fun Wolverine. I liked him. Um, and I like the idea that he's not this like proven hero. Like I get he's always like kind of an anti-hero, like or a gruff hero, whatever. Like, but like here he's like kind of almost cowardice is what you imagine might have been the case, or like he not cowardice, but
He's kind of shell shocked by the X-Men being taken out in the way they were in his universe.
like he's getting talked down to by a bartender when we see him initially, right? And even Deadpool's like, let him talk to you that way. He's like, yeah. And I guess he's like kind of in a pity party, right? Like he's letting people. I wouldn't say cowardice, but he's pitying himself, and he's letting himself just kind of be a victim, I guess, of his own circumstances.
I remember one thing sticking in my mind is like the TVA bad guy mentions that the reason like Deadpool's universe is dying is because their Logan was like the linchpin of their universe, and with
Mhm.
him dying in the movie Logan, that's what's like shredding his universe or whatever.
Yeah,
But if you think about it, Logan takes place in like the far future, like from where Deadpool is living contemporaneous, like in his universe. So it's kind of like there's a timey wimey thing where it's like, okay, technically, like Logan wouldn't have died until like many years in the future from where they are in the timeline. So like, why is his universe dying? It's
yeah.
one of those chicken and the time paradox kind of things where I guess you just. But then again, those existed in Loki, so I guess you just shut off your brain and you go,
Also,
okay, but
no, but
I don't
hold
know.
on, I gotta ask. Like, okay, so the timeline, it's a circle, so that means it's always like nothing's new in it, right? Nothing's new in the timeline. It's always like what's going to happen is supposed to happen, right? It's a circle. Like it's feeding into its like it's just right. Like nothing can come into that and change things. It's set in the way it is.
I guess so. Yeah, it's confusing.
So then, like, let's say that's the case. Like everything is meant to like everything's happened over and over again, or nothing changes the timeline. So like, why would Wolverine dying change the timeline now when there was always a future past that? There was like there's you know what I mean? Like how did this
Yes.
happen? How this is the first time that's ever happened?
Well, that's the other thing that bugged me is because they mentioned they introduced this idea of like Logan was the anchor person of that universe, but we just saw 2 seasons of Loki, and did they ever introduce the idea that each universe has an anchor person that's keeping the universe? universes alive. I don't think they ever did. So to me, it kind of sounded like convenient, like BS. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember. There was a lot of talk about like Nexus beings, but I think that was just comic book people talking about that. Maybe their theories, but I don't remember any of them actually being Nexus beings. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So there's definitely things in that Wolverine and Deadpool that didn't add up for me. So
yeah.
maybe that's another reason I kind of like the other Deadpool movies a little bit more. But it's still a fun time. There's lots of good jokes and good action, so I can't complain too much.
Well, it kind of confused me the way it ended. Like, wasn't their whole thing like to kill the multiverse? That's what Deadpool was talking about. He was like, "Let's just this is broken, so let's just break it. Let's just cut it, cut it all down."
Well, I didn't suspect like they were gonna kill the whole multiverse in that movie, but I thought they would at least bring the Fox universe to a definitive end and introduce Deadpool into the proper MCU. And they
Mhm.
don't really do that. And so that's another thing that let me down. I was like, wow, this really didn't advance the MCU at all. Like, it was
Yeah,
a fun story, but it didn't really advance the overall story of the MCU.
yeah. I guess that was like I do wish that was something they might have thought of doing. Like that would have been cool for them. Yeah, I agree. Like you could push the narrative like, okay, this is the direction we're going in. Get excited. This is what we're doing, this is our new thing. And you could kind of set that, the base for where you're going, the new direction with Deadpool, especially being a new character and how he, changes things.
The
Um
other scene I remember that I didn't like, that I thought they should have just put on the cutting room floor,
mhm.
is the scene in the beginning where, because you remember, like in Deadpool 2, he ends up with Cable's time travel device. But to my knowledge, that device couldn't bring you to other universes. But somehow he gets to the main MCU universe and he has that conversation with Happy where he tries to join the Avengers. And I was
Yeah,
like, it's confusing how he even got there and had that conversation. And
yeah.
also, that conversation was wholly unnecessary for the plot of the movie. So I thought they should have just got rid of that scene. It didn't make sense to me.
I mean, they do a callback to it later, like when Logan like talks about it. That's why they didn't want you, and like he talks about it a couple of times. But yeah, I think it was mostly for shits and giggles, like for laughs. That scene. I think most of this movie was for laughs. Like
Yeah.
that's what was the priority here. Nah, that's fine. Like if the whole thing was just to like have a fun time with Deadpool, that's fine too.
Well, I don't know. Like, yeah, you want it to make you laugh, but I don't think they should like prioritize like jokes over like the plot making sense necessarily. Like,
So
I don't
I
know.
agree with you most of the time on that. I think particularly with Deadpool though, like I like that he's breaks the fourth wall and he is this character. I think in that situation, like I'm kind of looking for that with Deadpool. I'm open to that anyway.
Right.
Like if it's a more serious movie, if I'm looking for something that is like an actual movie, for sure, yeah, I agree. But with Deadpool, I don't take it as seriously.
There is definitely a thing where you go, well, it's just Deadpool.
Yeah,
He's silly and it's almost cartoon like and anything can happen. So,
you can really do almost anything with him and get away with it.
right. Um all right, AJ, I think that'll do it for today's episode. Guys, we want to thank you very much for following along. If you will, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Um, Leave thumbs up, positive reviews. You can also subscribe in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice. If you like, you can follow me over on Twitter/X at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. But until next time, we hope you're enjoying the review. Bye, guys.
Take care.